like my hands are a bit more normal than you think. Shout out to my 9-inch Kings. Sorry, Marshall and Lattimore. You're not quite there, but you're getting there. Nick Underhill, New Orleans on Football, has that great breakdown that we talked about yesterday. Where
I think he's fully grown.
I don't know. You can stretch these things out maybe. But remember, Nick came on yesterday and he was talking about prototypes and how the Saints kind of, they're not someone who scoff at measurements. They're not someone who scoff at analytics or measurements. And what they do is they get the league averages for these positions and they try to see, okay, who fits this bill. And right now, because the Saints are looking corner, that would be one of the main positions they're going to be looking at in the first round. Corners in the league right now, an average of 73 inches height. I was kind of surprised to see that. So the Richard Sherman Legion of Boom revolution is complete, right? Because that's an average of 6'1" at cornerback. It was not like that 10 years ago, was it?
No.
I mean, it was like that was the whole deal with Richard Sherman Legion of Boom is that they were like huge corners. They were over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So obviously there's been a lot of growth. That average about 6'1", 200 pounds, average 40 time of 4.52, average arm length of 32 inches, average hand size of 9.3 inches.
4.52?
Yeah.
That's a little surprising.
It is a little surprising. Maybe showing that 40 can be a bit overrated when it comes to judging these prospects because, I mean, you are going to see a lot of 4.4s and stuff on the list. That maybe it's a bit more about technique and not just pure speed, which makes sense. I mean, is there a more technique-heavy position than cornerback? To me, I don't know. Do you agree with this, Jake? I've always viewed cornerback and left tackle as actually incredibly similar positions, where essentially you are trying to stop a world-class athlete who is across from you, who knows where they're going.
You're going backwards.
But you're having to, you're going backwards, and you're having to read and react. Like, it's one of the great, beautiful ironies and kind of echoes of football is that two positions that physically are as different as you could possibly find, even on different sides of the ball, actually in practice resemble each other quite a bit.
No, I actually get the logic you're using there, and also some of the similarities, like you can't open your hips to the sidelines. You have to take the right first step. You have to kind of count on your guard, like your corner. You have to count on your safety. So, no, I completely agree with what you're saying, and there's not a lot of room for error in those positions either. And I've always said this, and I hate it. Like, a corner can beat a receiver 40 out of 43 snaps.
Yep.
And a tackle can beat an edge rusher 40 out of 43 snaps.
Yep.
But those three, you got your butt kicked that day if you lose them.
Yeah.
Like, I always hated that. Like, if I'm a left tackle and I'm blocking, let's say you throw 32 passes in a game, and I beat you 30 times. You don't touch my guy, and you beat me twice.
Like, let's say you beat Trey Hendrickson, like one of the best rushers. Right. No, I'm just kidding. Like, any of these top rushers. Let's say you beat
Cam,
T.J. Watt 40 out of 43 times.
Right. And he beats me those three, then I got my butt kicked, and he's player of the week that week.
Yeah, if he gets home twice.
And think about the percentages
like he can beat you
that.
3, and then if he just gets 2 sacks, though, then he is, like you said, like AFC defensive player of the week because maybe he even got like a forced fumble.
So those two positions, tackle and corner, that's what you have to deal with. That's the expectation level. So you have to be perfect. You have to get guys that you feel like can have that skill set to be able to take over a game. And that's why when you're drafting 28 and you're looking for corners, it's like it's a corner, heavy draft, but there's going to be a run on corners there in the teens. And I don't know if a guy falls to you at 28 that you feel like can be that starter, because they need a starter. They don't need a piece. They don't need a third corner, a nickel corner that you can take at 28 that's going to play that role and then eventually play himself into being the second corner opposite Lattimore. No, you need a guy that today can be that guy.
So it is interesting. So like I said, Nick broke down the prototype kind of measurements, and then he went and he looked at all the cornerbacks in the draft that would fulfill those measurements. And it makes sense. It's about 20-some guys. So just from a pure measurement standpoint, there seem to be options. But the top names like Patrick Surtain comes in at 6'2", 208, 4'4", 240, 32-inch arms, 10-inch hands, big hands on Surtain there. Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley actually has the smallest hands of any of the cornerbacks, 8.75. But Marshawn Lattimore at 8.88. So maybe like the Saints will do a little small hand representation on the edges, a little tiny hand combo. Nobody wants to see Team Tiny Hands out there D'ing you up. I don't know exactly what to make of Farley, given that he set out this last year. He was one of the first, even before Jamar Chase, one of the first big players to set out. I'm not dinging him for that. you haven't seen, like, Farley does not have the tape that a Jamar Chase does, but he will still likely go in the first round. So other names maybe look out for: J.C. Horn perfectly fits all these measurements. Shaun Wade, Kelvin Joseph, former
how about that? How about
LSU star?
His star is rising.
Yeah,
he was the guy. Like, a lot of people's memory of him last football season is going to be when he got big boyed by Seth Williams when they played Auburn. Seth Williams goes over the top, catches the fade in the end zone, and then literally pushes him to the ground, flexes on him, and walks off. Like, that's the image. But you can't take that one image.
But again, that's the quarterback thing. That's literally what you just talked about.
That's what I'm saying. And that's
I don't even know. Maybe he did good against Seth Williams the rest of the game, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So, obviously, this is a guy that's very talented. Started his first game against Miami at LSU, and people are really impressed with what he has done in the draft process. Even Mark Supes, we had him on the SEC show when he declared, and I asked him, like, were you surprised that he did? He said, yeah, honestly, I was. I thought there was things he could come back, he could improve on, and he could work his way into being a true first-round corner, but he's actually done so without playing football. Like, he's done it in the draft process, and that's a lot of wristbands if you're watching on CST.
It is interesting. If you look at swag levels, dude, got to have it. It is interesting that in this article, Nick highlights a few positions. He highlights cornerback, he highlights weak side linebacker, he highlights quarterback, and he highlights wide receiver. And there seem to be the most options at corner. So there is an argument to be made here where, and this is just talking about measurables, but there is an argument to be made where maybe the Saints do end up feeling a little more comfortable waiting on that corner. Your average weak side linebacker right now in the league is checking in at, again, about 6'1.5", 235, 4'6", 40, 32-inch arms, 9.7-inch hands. One of the names, obviously, like Dylan Moses, is on that list. But one of the names that jumps off the page to me, Jabril Cox, perfectly fitting within that prototype range. And when you're talking about a guy that can cover and a guy who maybe will end up being a value play, though he acquitted himself so well at the Senior Bowl that I think that people aren't really dinging him for last year. But Jabril Cox, because when's he talking about getting drafted? Maybe second, third?
Yep.
Like that could definitely be a guy that the Saints would want to kick the tires on.
Yeah, and he didn't play for LSU that long, so maybe they won't look at that and not draft him. You know, maybe like North Dakota State guy, not LSU guy. So there's a chance there. But I do agree with you as far as maybe what they're looking for. He would fit that mold. His name has been rising, but the Saints have, multiple third-round picks. If he does fall that far, they obviously could take him earlier than that in the second. So, but with that being said, also, I could very easily see them trading those assets to move up if the right player is there. It feels like that type of draft for the Saints. Even though I don't think they should, I think they need to select players with all of their draft choices and not trade them, because you do have some holes left on the roster.
Especially their early ones. Yeah, this feels like, and to your point, though, nobody loves, in the era where a lot of people believe in trading back and amassing resources, though, I don't know, the Patriots roster would maybe show that hasn't always paid the dividends that you would think it would. But, like, nobody loves trading up more than Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. But I'm with you. With the holes that they have, can they really afford to give up their thirds? Or, like, I don't think they can. You were mentioning coming into the show today, Jake, that you were seeing a lot of Terrace Marshall to LSU, and that would make a lot of sense. As right now, again, that wide receiver average, about what corner? 73 inches, 205 pounds, 4'4", 640, 32-inch arms, and 9.5-inch hands. And when you're talking about Terrace Marshall Jr., yeah, he too fits literally all of that to a T. He even has another inch on the league average, so he is exactly what you are looking for. But even a bit taller.
Yeah. When you look at kind of where he's graded for this draft, a lot of people have him 27 to 30 as far as overall prospects. So it would fit exactly where the Saints are drafting. And we kind of had the debate, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about which direction we think the Saints are going to go in. And they have shown they will go offense heavy. Like, they will go and they'll go defense heavy in a draft. Like, they will go one side of the football, maybe if you don't think it's necessarily their top need. They draft different. They just draft different than other teams in their thought process. So if they want to say, you know what, we've got a new quarterback, Drew's no longer here, we can't sign a guy from the street and select him here and then put him in the lineup and expect him to be the number 2. We've got to go get a true talent for Jameis or Taysom or whoever the quarterback is.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Does does the fact that your quarterback position is a little unsettled, does that make you more or less likely to commit resources to offense? Because in my opinion,
strengthen up the defense.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is almost like, look, I don't know if even if you were to add another weapon, like is Jameis or Taysom really are you gonna get your ROI there?
Right.
Because already they're going to be going Mike Thomas, they're going to be going to Alvin Kamara, and then everybody else is kind of going to be left fighting for some of the scraps. And so when you lose multiple D linemen and you lose linebackers and you lose cornerbacks, I feel like, this would need to be a Saints draft that maybe does focus on the defensive side of the ball more.
At the end of the day, what does Sean Payton coach?
He does coach offense. That's fair.
He is not going to have his offense out there looking like Willie Lump Lump and not producing. Look it up.
Willie Lump Lump.
And
is
not
that
producing.
Nick Cage movie? No, that's Willie's Wonder World. Never mind.
Yeah. So if you're not producing, it's going to be the defense, not the offense.
Okay.
I can very easily.
And that has been the tale of the Saints.
I can see him going and selecting a receiver because also, regardless of what we think about Jared Cook, that was what he was there for, was to be a receiver.
Yeah.
Adam Trautman, I think, has a skill set as a receiver, but he is shown to be, so far in his young career, a run blocker. That's what he thrived in last year. Okay, so you really have one weapon on the outside that you fully trust, one in the backfield that you fully trust to be a receiver. Some other options, you might have a strong feeling about them, but you don't know. So I can see them going and getting another pass catcher.
Yeah, it is kind of goes back to the conversation we had the other day with New Orleans weapons versus Tampa weapons. We will see. But a fascinating Saints draft coming up, to be sure.
And one more, obviously people know I'm a huge fan of Terrace Marshall and what he's doing, but this guy is a guy that thrived with two other first-round receivers on the team, and he was the trusted target in the red area. He was the guy that caught all the touchdown passes. If he doesn't get hurt in 2019, who knows what those final numbers look like. He is someone that maybe he's not valued as much because of the things around him, but when you're a GM and you're a football guy and you do the deep dive into the film, he's going to stand out to those type of people more because they're going to realize all the circumstances around him, and he still thrived on that 2019 offense with two first-round receivers.
Moose! Let's get that Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. We brought up, this is from yesterday. We argued, what do you like more, college sports or pro sports? We knew the answer was going to be, what was it?
Yeah, college sports, 88% there.
Oh, wow, yeah, classic. A bunch of simpletons were surrounded by Danny. What are we supposed to do here? All right, when we get back on OTB.
You call me simple?
No, I called you. I tried to do Willie, whatever you just said.
Willie Lump Lump.
We got Antonio Daniels talking television next year on Off the Bench.